Hi, do you remember PEMDAS from school? You know, the parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction things, so you can decipher things like this and make sure you do the parentheses grouping things first and then the exponents and then multiplication, division, then addition, subtraction, right? Yeah, it was pretty straightforward until you run into a situation like this, right? Actually, in my math class, we learned the opposite of what they teach today on how to handle this because multiplication comes before division in PEMDAS. And so they had multiplication go first, which today they want you to go left to right when you have multiplication and division in the same line like that. So it'd actually be division first in this case. And that's all fine, except for this. They're missing a huge point here, and that is confusing. Don't ever do that. It's confusing for many reasons. One is people like me were taught the opposite, and that's fine. I went to the Alabama public schools growing up, so, forgive me. But the other reason is it's just confusing, period. I have to try to get what your intent is looking at this. I have to sit there and say, what were you thinking? Did you mean to do it this way or this way? I don't know. I have to ask. At least if I'm in an actual job where things like this matter, I don't want to get it wrong. And so I need to clarify to make sure it's right. And if it requires clarification, it's not ready to be called math yet. It's more of an investigative thing. So don't teach that. Don't show kids that. There are a couple of ways to not show kids that. There are a couple of ways to make it better. The first one is to never, ever, ever use the division sign. Ever. Don't do that. I covered that in my last video over here, my last math video at least, or one of my last videos. It's a good video. Go watch it. Pause this one for now. Go watch it, then come back to this one. But don't use the division sign, because if you want to do something like this, you rewrite it like that instead. Isn't that a lot more clear? It doesn't really matter if you do multiplication or division first. It still works. It's clear. You can divide the fraction first and then multiply, or you can multiply the numerators first and then divide. It's all good. Get rid of the division sign. Don't use it. Use the horizontal bar. Use the horizontal bar for division, not the division sign. The division sign just leads to confusion. So don't do that. The other way you can help avoid confusion is by using parentheses. That's what parentheses are for, is to tell you, hey, I want you to do this first. So use parentheses. Let your intent be known. Now, I know what you may be thinking. You may be thinking, hey, this is in my math book and I have to know how to do it. Great. In that case, you got multiplication, division, go right to left or left to right or whatever they're teaching you, and there you go. Doesn't really matter, because you would never see this in the real world, ever. As an engineer, as a mathematician, anywhere. Nowhere would you ever see this. Why? Because it's confusing. We already covered that. So don't do that. Why they're teaching that still? I don't know. They're stuck in the agrarian era where they had struggled with typesetting back in the day before computers. There's no reason to teach that. No reason to have this sign in school. And it just leads to confusion. And they have to take up time with this kind of thing, with confusion. And meanwhile, it's never an issue in the real world. Ever. Except in computer programming. That's the only place where you have to worry about this. Because it's really hard to have nice typesetting when writing a computer program. You don't. You write it in lines, line by line by line by line. So, how do you handle a math equation in one line? Use a slash for division. But then how do you make your intent known? Well, in that case, you use parentheses. Again, that's the whole point of parentheses, to make your intent known. You should never have to guess what the intent is for an expression in math. If you have to guess, then it's not clear. It's no longer math, it's just in the realm of like English, where you're guessing what Shakespeare was thinking when he wrote something, and it's like pseudo-psychology, and that's just bullshit. Don't do that in math. Math is all about logical thinking. It's logical thinking applied to numbers, really. And logical thinking requires clarity of thought, clarity of expression. Say what you mean what you say, and this is ambiguous, so isn't good math. Get rid of that. Instead, write it in such a way that the intent is clear. So when it comes to you guys teaching PEMDAS out there, don't use the division sign and use parentheses to make things clear. Otherwise, for the students out there watching this, don't blame your teachers. They just teach what they're told to teach. Blame the school boards. Blame the author of the books that you're given. But this is just stupid. It's a waste of time, honestly. When you get down to things like this, multiplication, division, division, multiplication, that's almost always due to the division sign, which should never be taught anyway. Just don't use it. Hope this helps. Thanks for watching. Cheers.